Kenny Baden, our defense attorneys for Casey Anthony. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Meredith. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Let me start with you, Linda. You have said that Casey has been unfairly accused and vilified. You compare her case to that of Dr. Sam Shepard, who was eventually vindicated.
Right.
But in the case of Dr. Shepard, he pointed to a perpetrator, this one-armed man. Who is the one-armed man in your case? The only person that Casey has pointed to is this babysitter that didn't even exist.
Well, the thing about it is that we as defense attorneys, we can't discuss, like you could back in the 50s, specifically what our defense will be. We just ask everyone now to wait. She has the presumption of innocence under the Constitution, and we'll see when we get to trial what our strategy is.
But Linda, you made the comparison.
Absolutely, because the comparison is for everyone has to wait. You have to stop saying somebody is guilty. You have to stop saying people are bad. Stop the personal attacks, because we have to remember she, as she sits there, is innocent. So at the trial, you'll find out.
But then, Jose, if not Casey, then who?
Well, I guess that's the same question you just asked Linda, but to
but
just another person.
You have a person in mind. You believe there is another person who did this, and you know who it is?
We have a defense in which we believe Casey Anthony is innocent, and we will show that out in trial, and that's really as much as we can say. As much as we want to go out there and scream it from the top of the mountains, we don't feel that's in her best interest. And quite frankly, that's the type of situation we find ourselves in. She faces, it's her against the world right now, and quite frankly it doesn't do any defensive attorney any advantage by disclosing what your defense is before the day of trial. In the courtroom is where we have to try this.
Well, maybe you can't answer this though, Linda, but I'm going to ask you anyhow. You are a forensic expert. How do you make sense of the evidence found in her car of a decomposing body and of chloroform?
Well, I'm an attorney who specializes, or likes to specialize, it has a dabbling, some people would say, in forensics. This relies on science, and we're going to find out in the next week or so from the National Academies of Science that what prosecutors put forward sometimes is science, what law enforcement put forward is science. And I have to separate this case because I can't specifically talk about this case. It may not be science, it may not be accurate, may never have been tested, may not be reliable. So we're going to be looking hard and fast at what we're given when we're given the scientific evidence, which we have not been given so far for the most part, and we'll have it reviewed by our experts, and then my job will be to advise Jose and the client what the science really shows and what it doesn't show, more importantly.
A judge finally gave you the right to go to the scene where Kaylee's body was found. Now at this point, the body was found in January. It has been picked apart, that scene, by the police. What could you hope to find there? Did you find anything that would be helpful?
We can't reconstruct the crime scene, obviously, because it was totally destroyed. But there are other things that we can look for, such as the plant life, what's indigenous to the nature, and there are other things that we were looking for, and luckily we found out that you guys don't like to work at nights, so that we've been able to fly under the radar a lot doing this.
Well, I like to work at night.
I didn't mean you personally. You work all the time.
This whole notion of not being able to find an impartial jury, what do you do with that?
Well, you do the best you can. It's all going to come down to jury selection. Right now, what we'd like to do is keep the location that we're asking for secret, so that way it doesn't get flooded by media, more media coverage in that specific area. Right now, Orlando, it's an unbearable place to try this case. It would be futile. But if we go to another location, I don't want that disclosed, quite frankly, because that I don't want to happen. I don't want what's going on in Orlando to happen to the new location.
And finally, you know, Linda there said that you've been sort of vilified to the extent that people see you as a Hitler. Is that fair?
Well, you know, I'm doing the best I can for my client, and I think it's a lawyer's job to stand in front of their client and remain objective over the situation. And I'm just quite frankly doing the oath that I took.
How is she doing, Casey? You're one of the few people who had access to her.
Well, you know, I've always kept what she's going through private, because I think that's a private matter. If I had an attorney and I was going through a tragedy like this, I wouldn't want my attorney out there telling the world what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, things like that. So I've kept the stance that this is something I want to keep private for her, because that's her private tragedy that she's going through right now.
But in the end, you believe she will be vindicated?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Jose Baez, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Linda Kenny Baden as well, thank you.